Welcome to this week's Aiding Your Game. We're going to be doing part 2 of holidays, festivals, and fairs. We're going to go back to the initial sheet that we started in the last video. If you haven't seen it, make sure to go back and check that out first. But we've got a lot of content still to cover as we prep up for the new year, so let's dive into it. Now, of course, before we begin the video, please make sure to go down and hit that subscribe button to help us grow. Give us a thumbs up if you like the content. Now, if you don't mind the notifications, be sure to ding that bell so that you know when we're posting new content up. Be sure to leave a comment on content you'd like to see us cover in upcoming videos. Finally, be sure to share so that we can get more people subscribed and following to the community and growing this channel. So last week as we were working on the spreadsheet, we looked at 4 different options of how to look at adding in holidays, festivals, and fairs into your game world. We talked a little bit about the difference in the opportunity to use both state and religious aspects to create some of those. We talked about weather and the kind of cycles of seasons to generate holidays, festivals, and fairs. Today we're going to dive deeper into how to use astronomy, as well as how to use some of the bases of your characters to really resonate, making your game worlds really appeal and be a part of that character creation process. So we're going to jump back to the spreadsheet and work on filling this out even more. All right, as we continue the series on our holidays, last time we went over the first 2 rows that we had up here. Today we're going to be working on the next 2. As a reminder, these moon phases are not exact because the full moon should have a rise and fall, so the lighter area should be more centered, and then back down to new moon. So this is just a quick graphic put together just to represent that there are phases of the moon each month. We do have 12 moon phases. You can see them here. You can also see a couple of different colors. Now, I did that just kind of thinking about the moon in one of our fantasy worlds. Perhaps as we're in the red moon phase, that moon along the horizon is extremely low, keeping it red or orange. So just along the horizon on its full moon. And then perhaps it rises up, and in winter, and then rises up. While you could have arguably the same elevation on month 3 and month 12, perhaps in winter there's some type of aurora borealis or the ice crystals in the air, something that gives it more of a purple shade versus blue. So again, this was covering season, and this is covering dry and wet variations to the climate. We're looking at astrological for this first part of this video, because perhaps rather than focusing on holidays or state-sanctioned holidays, we're going to be looking at astrological holidays, and people like wizards and maybe even sorcerers and warlocks and druids, they could all have their calendars kind of run off cycles of the moon or astrological signs rather than just identified holidays based on events or people or season. So with that in mind, we're going to pop in some holidays. Now, I did not use the same sheet we did last time because I don't want conflictions between these. Maybe it's a different area, maybe it's just different people looking at it. But let's look at what we have. Since we have 4 moon phases already, we can say the Scarlet moon is one of the phases. And for this one here, it's celebrated in the fall, and it's a dry season. And this could be something where we know the harvest is going on. That's going to be a celebration that's going to be going on based on both the state-sanctioned and possibly a feast day of a saint who blessed the fields. But for that astrological part, this has a little bit different meaning. Perhaps as part of their celebration for a day and overnight, everybody wears red. So red fabrics, red jewels, garnets, and rubies. Everybody dresses in red, red flowers, red masks, all different kinds of things that are based on red through the day as they prepare for the red moon to rise. And then during that red moon rising, everybody goes to a graveyard, let's say, or a temple, or possibly it's just some type of a location in the town that is important for that astrology point. Maybe it's something up on a hill where the moon looks over the valley, and everybody lights a candle. So there is candle lighting. And at this point, there is a strong possibility that if those candles aren't lit and fire is kind of presented, that the world will catch fire. I don't know, I'm spitballing here, but looking at a holiday, the Scarlet Moon Festival, where everybody wears red and ends up together with candles lit as a holiday and a festival. Everything you eat has to be red or draped in red with red flowers. Everything is decorated with red daisies and poppies and who knows. But one of the holidays we could do based on a red moon that hangs low in the sky could be astrologically designed. Taking that into account, that was a super easy one, but looking at something that is in that yellow moon, here we're in the summer time, it's dry season. We know the church celebrates the holiday of Saint Albert. We know the kingdom puts on a drought festival, celebrating the March of Albert across the desert. Perhaps this one here is something where with that yellow moon there is also a planetary alignment, and that's what allowed the Albert to navigate through the desert. It was more of an astrological alignment that guided him through the dangerous course. And those who are more inclined to deal with astrology and all of that could celebrate we'll call this the desert moon. And they could use this to look at a set time to look at different types of incantations that guide and give location, and scrying and things like that are super important. So instead of having to dress in red and all of that, for this one here, everybody goes through and provides something focused on sand, time, and maps. So paper, sand, hourglasses, something where the holiday is tracked by a massive hourglass that pours through, and when the sand goes through the hourglass completely, it's like the ball dropping on New Year's Eve. They start that hourglass as the sun rises, as that yellow sun rises, and it's designed for, at the end of it, that planetary alignment. And at that point there is a large celebration. And it's at that moment that people believe that there are opportunities for them to find their way better. So this could almost be a summer like New Year's. This is when we set goals and kind of think about our way. So the Desert Moon Festival. And this one here, I kind of imagine a more festive piece. People are going to dress up and wear costumes and do all kinds of fun things like that. This is more of an enjoyment piece, where this one is a little more sacred and almost eerie. This one is more fun. This is the Hippie Festival here. We've got the blue moon at the beginning, month 3. Perhaps with this blue moon here, we know based on the holidays that we've put in before, there was early on in the year the surrender of Greyport, and there was also a celebration of Saint Gilbert. So astrologically, perhaps this one is something where we're looking at still kind of going through the celebration of seeds. This could be one that, especially for druids, when the blue moon rises, the druid circle really takes hold and celebrates the seeds taking root and preparing to grow. Now they've been in for 3 months. They should be starting to really poke out of the ground, any new growth, anything like that. For druids especially, this could be a very powerful season right at the end of spring and before the summer really gets underway, the celebration of seeds. So at that point there, it could be something where astrologically it's tied more to druids, but even for, other classes, let's say, that deal in the arcane, it could be something where if something hasn't taken root by this point, it could be destined to fail. So this celebration, the celebration of seeds, is when there could be almost an Arbor Day kind of feel. This is where things are being exchanged at market that deal with seeds and growth and growing. So a celebration of seeds, all based on the blue moon. And that blue moon really indicates that the spring season is near its end. Also, that could be, of course, your spring equinox. So your day and night are equal in time, and similar to the red moon, where your day and night would be equal in time, that equinox part could be a very important celebration of seeds. And then the last one is that purple. So we know we're in the dead of winter. We know that for the religious folks, they celebrate the mysteries of life and death. We know that for the state, they celebrate the General Hobbs who laid siege to Greyport, or maybe a different port. But for those who are arcane, this is when the veil really opens up. Because of that purple, it really makes me think of necromancy. This is when we have to stay vigilant against necromancy, or for those who dabble in necromancy, when the alignment is really powerful, leading to the underworld. So for those who celebrate the, let's see, what can we call this? The thinning of the veil. For those who celebrate the thinning of the veil, depending on if they're pro or con, those who are pro thinning of the veil are going to dress in purple vestments and robes. They are going to practice necromancy. They are going to be working to help open that veil and reveal the underworld and necromancy. Those who are con are going to be doing vigilant, overnight study and maybe burning candles and torches and lighting up streets, and maybe also visiting graveyards and doing some type of ritual where they, oh, that's a good one, they sprinkle salt on the land, on the graves, and any type of tombstones, anything like that. Now this will have a couple effects. One, the salt is going to melt any snow, so it could look like because of the salt it was able to keep something from coming through, though it tried. It could also, if there is no snow and ice and everything, it could represent snow and ice. So it could be keeping everything cold. It's hard to say exactly how to play it in, but based on our astrological signs, we've got 4 holidays that we can drop into our campaigns that allow us to utilize different plot hooks. Perhaps our characters don't celebrate any of these. If we don't have any arcane people in our group and they happen upon a village who is in the middle of preparing for that Scarlet Moon festival, everybody's wearing red except the PCs, could lead to some very interesting RP, as well as opportunity for them to get some minor plot hooks and side quests. What if all the candles that were stored by the arcane school were stolen or missing, or the caravan never came up, and it's up to the heroes to get the candles so that everybody can participate in the candle lighting ceremony for the Scarlet Moon? If not, there should be some dire consequences according to local legend and lore. So some fun opportunity to drop in very different ways to look at celebrations and festivals. And these are ones that are not completely religious-based or state-based, though religion and state may kind of tie into it and, allow the sale of candles with no tax, or maybe the state provides candles, or the temples provide special candles with specific divine runes on them, or something along those lines. Could be supported by both the temples and state, but rooted in arcane astrology. So arcane, looking at how we can build some holidays just based on signs, is really cool, and a neat way to change up the way we think about festivals and fairs that we are doing. Again, going back to the Hippie Festival, that could be a fun one where it's 5 days of music leading up to that desert moon, just waiting for the sands of time to run out of the hourglass, or maybe when the sands of time run out, that's when the festival really begins. All different kinds of things. More fun flair with good trade, maybe some shady characters trading in some funky tobaccos and fungi, and something that the characters could have some fun RP moments with and root some more lore into your game worlds. Now, the last row, we left this blank, and the reason we left this blank is as we're building the game worlds, one of the things we really want to make sure we do is allow our player characters to have an impact on the game world. And I thought I would do this in a very interesting way. I'm not going to do one for all classes, but I thought I would pick out a few different classes. And these are going to be ones that are selected quite a bit by players, and this is based on surveys that we did early in the year. So we're going to put Barbarian, Warlock, we're going to put a Cleric, we're going to put a Fighter, we're going to put a Druid, and we're going to put a Sorcerer. Now, some of these we've already kind of covered with the arcane abilities with warlocks and sorcerers, also clerics with holidays. So I'm going to focus more on some of the others in this one. I mean, druids, I guess we talked a little bit about with the blue moon, but kind of tying into that, for a druid who is very nature oriented, I'm going to flip this on its heels now. So one thing that druids are very in tune of is the balance of nature. That kind of opportunity that nature should always have a balance. So I'm also going to pop them into that desert time frame, summer, when we're looking at an opportunity for druids. What is a celebration that druids should, would, and could partake in? So summer solstice. If you have a druid in your party, why not drop some indicators to your druid that if they're in an area where it allows, especially, there is a druidic circle that is getting ready to celebrate the summer solstice. This should be something that should be important to all druids. This is something that if your players are really looking at their character, some of the motivations and everything, you should be able to find a way to tie in their character class and background into that summer solstice celebration. This is something that should pique their interest, allow them an opportunity to learn and grow and develop and maybe even show off a little bit, but something tied to them that they should feel very deeply about participating in. If your players are not into tie-ins and things like that, it's definitely fine to skip it, but for great experiences, allowing the characters to have a big impact on your sessions and stories is a great way to story build together. Who knows where this could launch? Now with a barbarian, thinking about this one here, I think about Vikings quite a bit. Of course, I've got a lot of heritage, a lot of history study, and a lot of schooling on the Vikings. So one of the things with Vikings, and I would assume with many barbarian tribes, if you look at what have been considered in the past history as barbarian tribes, is they generally tend to winter at home, and then in the spring and summer use that for their raiding and pillaging and expansion and growth opportunities. So for barbarians, as they've gone through and done all of their barbaric ways, I think before they head home, I want to pop something here into fall. And this is going to be, for lack of a better word, a rendezvous. So this is when a barbarian tribe commonly will get together on their ways home after all of their barbaric, conquests and expansions and hoarding and looting and pillaging and all of that. So barbarian tribes will oftentimes, as they're working to get back to their homelands, have a rendezvous, and that is let's say that's a week-long celebration. They do tests of strength and fighting prowess. They do some drinking, and most importantly, trading. So anybody who's got barbarian characters, when they hear that there is a rendezvous coming up and there are going to be competing tribes and other barbarian hordes that are going to be putting on tests of strength and fighting tournaments and drinking tournaments and trading, this should really pique their interest. And it's something that makes sense for their background, so they should know about it, and it should be something that they ultimately should be looking forward to. What can they bring to the table to really boast and kind of gain clout or participate and make their tribe kind of stand out above the others? So a good opportunity to tie in barbarians. And then fighters. Oftentimes, fighters get thought of as that nightly kind of piece. So why not tie up into the spring when it would make sense while the peasants are busy toiling? The noble lords and their knights are going to be jousting. So there is a tourney. And this is also going to be a week-long celebration. Maybe not, maybe just 3 days. But this is a time for them to not only talk kind of shop, what's happening with the kingdoms, what's happening with the lands, with boundaries of the lands, borders of the lands, but also do some tests of strength and fighting and jousting, obviously, all different types of tourney items. This ties in also to things like bards who could be looking for coin and telling stories and earning money through song and poem and storytelling. So this one here also plays heavily into bards as well as fighters. So a jousting tourney for the spring. Now we've covered spring, kind of summer, fall. The last one I want to hit is winter. And this one is where I'm going to bring it back to Warlock and Sorcerer. I'm going to combine these ones a little bit. So I'm going to put Arcane. So most of the time when you think of Warlocks and Sorcerers, oftentimes misunderstood, outsiders, alone. There is a time at the end of the year where those undesirable arcanists have a quiet moment of reflection. They made it through another year without having to go to wizardly schools, and they are going to celebrate. This is going to be a more quiet piece. They're going to have a holiday of growth. So this one here is when they look at what they've learned through their trials and tribulations through the previous year. This is a moment where they are going to want to spend time thinking about and studying and practicing what they've learned and experienced and developed. So what should we call that? Let's call that one the Day of Reflection. And I know that's sloppy there. I hope it's okay. I know it's a little hard to see. But that for the Warlock and the Sorcerer is what they have found on their own to be a day of reflection. It's an opportunity for them to do more of that contemplative study and experience of what they've learned through the year. Now, this is one where oftentimes you're not going to have big, huge celebrations in the street, but if they're in town or possibly traveling merchant, as someone in an inn or passing through to their home keep, whatever the case may be, who is bringing up to them that there is this day of reflection. And it could also be a way for them to get introduced to plot hooks as well as good RP sessions for those who came before them, those who have struggled with similar things, those who just understand by having connections to other arcanists who are not wizards. So there we have some more celebrations that we've discussed, all based on classes, possibly even backgrounds. If you look at the Day of Reflection, think of anybody with a sage background. Huge opportunity. How about somebody with a noble background in the jousting tourney? Definitely an important point. By utilizing backgrounds and classes to pick and choose which holidays we want to highlight, we're tying our characters further into our game worlds and then allowing that character to impact the game world that we're building and the story that we're telling together. So you may look at all of these couple of videos about holidays, festivals, and fairs as an opportunity to build a richer story, offer opportunity to change the pace, allow for plot hooks, and just role play opportunities. Could be a great distraction before or after big, huge milestone moments in your game. could offer that reprieve, allow for NPCs to have good interaction with your characters to help guide, console, and maybe even condemn or congratulate those NPCs for what they've done or what they're about to do. Holidays overall should be something that in your game world have an impact on the characters by way of expressing how the populace of your world interacts with each other and with their environment. In my opinion, holidays are an important aspect to include in your games and your campaign. You should look at how you can pop even just one in per year of real-time gaming. It's a great opportunity to really just open the door to further possibilities and strengthening your game world. And there we go. A great look at a deep dive on holidays, festivals, and fairs. How to use the aspects that are most important to your game world and or your characters and setting to really design holidays, festivals, and fairs that are meaningful for them. Now, as you're going through and creating these holidays, festivals, and fairs, remember one thing that's very important is this is just a game. If something doesn't get used or the players don't seem really to be interested or kind of taking part in some of your thoughts and some of the work that you put into it, save it and recycle it. Use it later and drop in those parts that you work on at a different time, at a different city, at a different state. There are lots of opportunities to be creative up front and really flesh some things out and have it never see the light of day. That's okay. You can always reuse things later. And if there's anything that I learned from the conversation that I was able to have with the Dungeon Minister, and this is a couple of weeks back, make sure you check out that video as well as the Dungeon Minister's channel. One of the biggest things to remember is if you have that creative spark and you enjoy creating this type of level of detail, you're doing it right, because it's all about having fun for everyone, even you as a GM in your own way. So I hope this video was entertaining, was informative. I hope you enjoyed the series talking about a subject a little bit deeper and how to incorporate it in your games. As we sign off for the year, this will mark the final episode of Aiding Your Game for 2021. I hope the content has been enjoyable and have a very happy new year. We'll see you in 2022. I hope you enjoyed that video. Here's a link to another video that you may enjoy. Also, make sure you hit that subscribe button to help us grow. If you'd like to support us, make sure you check out the description of the video with some links and leave a comment to let us know where will your adventures take you.